All right, my beautiful bio kitties. So we're starting sexual reproduction today. We've gone over how cells replicate, prokaryotic versus eukaryotic cells. We have gone over asexual reproduction, when organisms do not require a mate and they can just produce identical offspring to themselves. And now we're starting sexual reproduction. All right, what is sexual reproduction? It is where two parents are going to come together. They are going to contribute their genetic information to produce unique offspring. So our offspring that we're getting are genetically unique. And that is because we are getting 50% of DNA from mum and 50% DNA from dad. And we'll go into the processes as to why our siblings are different to us then. But yes, they are unique offspring and they require two people or two mates, I suppose, to contribute their genetic information to create that offspring. Okay. These parents must contribute sex cells or something we call gametes. So this is how you say it, gametes. They unite and they start the process of fertilization. So the easiest thing to think about here is eggs and sperm. They are human sex cells. Male sex cells are sperm, female sex cells are eggs. They come together, they fertilize, and they create a beautiful baby. All right? So any reproduction where offspring is the result of two cells from two different mates is called sexual reproduction. Fertilization can occur internally, such as sexual intercourse in humans, or it can occur externally as well, so fertilizing eggs and things like that. So like fish, where fish lay their eggs and then the male comes along and fertilizes it externally out of the body. All right. So let's remember, we're just going to base this whole thing on humans, okay? So remembering that humans have 46 chromosomes in most of our cells, all right? So 23 pairs, yeah? We've got 2 copies of chromosome 1, 2 copies of chromosome 2, 2 copies of chromosome 3, all the way down to 22. And then we have 2 sex chromosomes, an X and an X if you're a female, and an X and a Y if you are a male. Now, we've got 2 copies of every chromosome because 1 copy came from our mum and 1 copy came from our dad. Okay? So that's what's happening in most of our cells. I must say that we are made up of 2 different types of cells then. Okay, when I say we have 46 chromosomes in most of our cells, we have an exception. And these are our gametes. Okay, so our somatic cells or our body cells contain a normal number of chromosomes, 46, and our gametes, our sex cells, contain half the normal number of chromosomes. Okay, we call that haploid. Haploid, H for half. That's how you remember it. Diploid is the full number. I don't know how you remember that one, but if you come up with a cool way, you just let me know. All right, so our gametes, our eggs and our sperm, they have half the amount of DNA and they only contain 23 chromosomes in total. And they only contain 1 from each pair. And I'm sure you can see where this is going. It is going here, where an egg that has 23 chromosomes and a sperm cell which has 23 chromosomes, they join together, they fertilize, and they create a baby with a full set of 46 chromosomes. All right, so see how that happened? 23 plus 23 equals 46. So they come together. And then this baby, like most of our cells, will have 46 chromosomes, and you can see the color here. 1 copy of chromosome 1 and 2 copies of chromosome 1, 1 from mum and 1 from dad. So you can see the pink coming from mum and the purple or blue coming from dad. Okay, so that is how we get our full set of chromosomes. All right, they come together and they give us 46. But our eggs and our sperm, they only start with half the number. which makes sense, right? Because they come together to make a full set. So you are literally, even though you might look like more of your mum or more of your dad, you are literally 50% of both of them. You have equal DNA, which is cool because I don't know why, but that's a huge misconception that people, I don't know, think that you're more of your mum or more of your dad when you are not. It's just about which genes are being expressed, but that is area of study 2. Okay, so gametes, the male gamete is sperm and the female gamete is ovum, which are eggs, okay? So these are the scientific words. Our eggs are produced in our ovaries and females are born with all of their eggs at birth, all of the eggs they will ever have, which is pretty cool. Whereas males, their sperm production starts at puberty in the testes. So lucky for them, they will have sperm for the rest of their life once they hit puberty. Whereas us females, our eggs do have an expiry date. And once we run out, we run out. So fertilization occurs, like I said. We have our egg cell 23 and our sperm cell 23, which come together to make a zygote with 46 chromosomes. And then, of course, that zygote will undergo mitosis to produce a living organism. All right, there's a few terminology that you need to know, which we did go over briefly when we were at school. So we know that our cells have 23 pairs or 46 chromosomes, like I've just drummed into your head. Now, 22 of these are autosomes, okay, 1 to 22, as we can see on this karyotype. They are autosomes just because they're not sex chromosomes, basically. So we have 22 autosomes. And then we have 2 sex chromosomes, okay? Now, these autosomes, 1 to 22, they are similar in size, they are similar in shape, and you can see they're carrying the same bands. If you can see the bands or the patterns on them, that's actually genes. So they're carrying the same genes, okay? Now, because they are similar in size, shape, and carrying the same genes, they are called homologous chromosomes. All right, so we call them homologous pairs or homologous chromosomes. So when we have 2 copies of chromosome 1, we call them a homologous pair. Homo, meaning the same. Homosexual, you like the same sex. Homo, that's our prefix for same. All right, so we call them homologous chromosomes, meaning they are similar in size and shape and carry the same genes. Okay, our sex chromosomes are not classified as a homologous pair. I mean, the 2 X chromosomes can be classified as a homologous pair, but our X and our Y are quite different. So we can't classify them as homologous because they carry different genes. Okay, the Y chromosome carries all your male sexual characteristics. Us females don't want that. Okay, so here's an example of just a homologous pair. And out of your homologous pair, you get 1 from your dad and 1 from your mum. Easy peasy. When I say they carry the same genes, they carry the same gene, as in like on the same position. So this is a homologous pair here. This is just 1 chromosome. The green is 1 and the purple is 1. Let's say they're chromosome 1, okay? They're carrying the gene for hair color. So even though they're carrying the same gene, hair color, there are different forms of a gene. So we call them alleles. And we might, this mum, the maternal chromosome might be carrying blonde hair, whereas the paternal chromosome might be carrying brown hair. Okay, so they do have different forms of the gene, but they are carrying the same genes, just different alleles, different forms of that gene. Okay, I think that's pretty much all we need to go over. So we know now that sex cells contain half the amount of DNA, which is pretty cool. We know they come together to create a baby or a zygote, which then has a full set of DNA. But how does our body go from starting with a body cell, a somatic cell with 46 chromosomes, to creating these sex cells with only half the amount of DNA? Meiosis, this beautiful word here. We are now going to move into sexual reproduction, but we are specifically going to learn about the process of meiosis and how these sex cells are created and how you get variation in your siblings, even though you are carrying half the DNA from your mum and half the DNA from your dad. Okay, so we're going to go through meiosis next lesson on Wednesday. But this lesson, what I want you to do is I just want you to make sure that you have a scrapbook summary on all of the information we've gone through today. Okay, so that is, and I'll put it in the lesson plan, what I want you to specifically include. That is slides 2 to 13. All right, I hope this explanation helped you a little bit so you weren't reading it and thinking, what the hell is going on? But I will be back on Wednesday and I will see you then for our Google Meet. See ya! Happy Monday!